Hello malt mates, welcome to the Whisky Bothy, welcome to review number 1143, I think. Probably is. I'm Ralphie, the host here. I review whiskies, lots of whiskies over a long period of time. So I do feel qualified purely through experience and no specific levels of intellectual expertise, which I highly recommend you be wary of. I feel qualified to talk about Scotch whisky. And the whisky I'm reviewing for you in this review is a 12-year-old single cask Clynelish. Clynelish being a Highland distillery, a North Highland distillery in the Scottish regions, just north of Inverness, so really quite far north. And this is bottled at cask strength, it's natural colour, and it's not been chill filtered, because it says so where it really matters, on the label. Clynelish has been, until recently, a cult Scotch whisky distillery for two reasons. The first being its close, in fact, I'll go further, intimate association with the brand called Brora, and at times the two distilleries were one and the same. And also the fact, it's the fact that Brora has now, because it's no longer available in its original form, there has been a rebranding, reworking, a reinstallation, and a sort of salvaging of the brand to a certain extent by the owners. But people still are looking for the original and the real versions from back in the 1990s primarily. And not a lot of Brora around. And Brora had a cult status imposed on it through the Malt Maniacs and Serge Valentine at whiskyfun.com. Both very useful sources of information, particularly Serge at whiskyfun.com, who absolutely raved and elevated the status of Brora. And I see where he's coming from, but my own personal opinion is well on record, and I think that it's all down to which bottling you get of Brora, because some of them are very average. It's got so much to do with the calibre of the cask that the whisky was developed in. Happens every time. But Clynelish has benefited from that brand association with Brora, and also with the fact that Clynelish had developed in kind of the last couple of decades a fairly unique style of intense waxiness in the whisky, which really stood out and gave a significant but not overbearing umami note to the experience, which made it of particular interest to aspiring whisky aficionados who were looking for a brand that other people were overlooking, which they could then appropriate as their own and have a little bit of credibility out of it. I know that sounds terribly cynical. I'm a cynical person. Simple as that. So let's have a sniff at this before I tell you a bit more about it. Clynelish, as an official bottling, has fallen off the ledge badly. There was, and you get mixed messages about this, there was a cleaning programme at Clynelish Distillery, and they removed what I'll briefly describe as deposits, natural of course, completely inoffensive deposits from the storage tanks in the distillery. And as soon as they removed them, they didn't replace them, and therefore the whisky lost its waxiness, particularly when being matured over time, and in fact became a generic, light, non-peated, fruity single malt. What we find now, if we're looking for classic Clynelish conditions, We either have to go to auction and buy older standard bottles before the year 2000, bottled before the year 2000, or we're looking to the independent bottlers who, even when they're not delivering that classic waxy Clynelish signature, are in a whole different way highlighting what a delightful distillery profile and character Clynelish is. I've got a very good example here. Unpeated, crispy, zesty barley sugar and white and yellow fruit. A little bit of grapefruit zest in the background, prominent biscuity, both sweet and savoury biscuit notes. There's a slight nuttiness to it, a little bit of almond in there, a little bit of hazelnut in there, although the almond is a little bit more prominent. There's a perfumed note on the nose, which is just starting to creep out from behind the cask influence that's been imposed onto this malt. At 12 years old, that cask influence hasn't been too sudden and it hasn't been too heavy. In fact, it's been just right. The nose alone is worth the price you're paying. The nose is as clear as a crisp winter's day from the summit of a Scottish mountain top. That's how clear it is. It's delightful. There's a little bit of lemon rind in there. There's a little bit of sour pineapple in the background. There's something slightly barbecued, slightly minty, slightly green sage savoury going on. There's a lot going on. This is an enormously expressive single malt. We know the distillery can do it, but it takes the independent bottlers now to show it, because the dumbing down of the brand for brand convenience in official bottlings is simply horrendous. I don't mean that as a condemnation, I mean it as an observation. For the majority of whisky bottle customers, they're going to be quite happy. They're getting the brand experience. But if you're watching this video, and it will last about 20 minutes, so we're already about 8 to 10 minutes in, you will know that we're deep diving here. We're going a lot further, and the real magic, the real expressiveness often is not from official bottlings anymore. It's from the independent bottlers. First taste, this being bottled at 54.5%. Now, for reference, I'm just going to give you a bit more information. This is cask number 231584. 295 bottles, suggesting this is a hogshead, which it is. It says so. And the independent bottler's name is Lady of the Glen, which, if I'm not mistaken, when you look at the top lists of best rated independent bottlers, in the top 10 you will find Lady of the Glen. They've been around for a while. They clearly show through subsequent bottlings that they are taking some time and some commitment to present their bottlings properly. And you can only do this when you've got people in the business who know their way around whisky. Cheers. First taste, neat. Cool. Astringent. Powerful. Slightly, not peat phenolic, but grain phenolic. There's this big, sweet, sour, bitter triptych thing going on. As soon as the fresh fruit note has receded, I didn't really pick up on the nose, but I'm certainly picking it up on the palate. It's gooseberries, a combination of ripe gooseberries and unripe gooseberries. Gooseberries that are getting there, but not quite ripe, so they're still sour and bitter. That's what we're getting here. I'm going to add some water now, and I'm going to be bold about it, because I am. Hey, master blenders do this. Ralphie does this. I add plenty of water to the whiskey, particularly when it's high strength. It's 54.5. That's a high strength whiskey. And it's natural colour and it's chill filtered. And I'm looking at the viscimmetry in the glass and it is very convincing. This is showing a lot of solids in solution. The oils, the cask extracts. I'm seeing a very slight graininess in this, and from experience when I've been doing my research, very important I do that, I've really noticed the Scotch mist appearing fairly rapidly in this glass, which is a sign not just that they're saying that they haven't chill filtered it, but they actually really mean that they haven't chill filtered it, which is a huge advantage. The water really brings the nose down to much more manageable and accessible access. Now, what was a confused and homogenized, integrated complexity of many flavours and sensations is now just settled down a little bit because it's been diluted a little bit, and the consequence is that it's opening up a little bit and it's delivering a far more articulate expression, not just in the nose, but most definitely on the palate. Sweet and sour, savoury, mild bitter, fresh fruit, pickled fruit, barbecued fruit, unripe fruit, very ripe fruit. Everything's going on here. Everything's going on. This is delightful. Malt Mark. It is absolutely delightful. I find it just heartwarming after a number of years to come back to Clynelish and remind myself just how interesting and worthwhile it really is. 88 out of 100. It's a Malt Mark. This review is done. It's lovely to see you again watching my reviews, and I'll be back along shortly where I'll be talking a little bit more about Clynelish. See you then.